There's a reason the forest behind our house is fenced off. I wish I'd listened. I wish I'd left it alone. When my brother Caleb and I bought the house together, it felt like the beginning of something good. A quiet place to reset. A fresh start. After our parents died, we needed that. We'd both spent too long in cities that never let us sleep. The house was tucked at the edge of a sleepy Oregon suburb, weathered shingles, creaky floorboards, and the kind of stillness that makes you feel like you're finally safe. But behind the house was a forest. The backyard stretched far. Wild grass, patches of old moss. And at the very edge, nearly swallowed by the trees, stood a rusted iron fence. 8 feet high, the color of old blood. Thorns and vines wove through the bars, and tall, crooked spikes lined the top like warning teeth. The realtor had called it an old county line marker. No trespassing, though, she said lightly. That land's never been developed. Not even surveyed, really. No trails. No cell reception. Just empty woods. The fence has been there since the 70s. Some people say it was built to keep squatters out. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. There was a gate in the middle, hidden under ivy, welded shut, like someone had taken the time to seal it forever. Not chained, not padlocked, fully welded. On our side of the gate, scratched deep into the metal, was a single word. Stay? At first, Caleb laughed it off. Said the previous owner was probably eccentric. Maybe they were into folklore. Maybe they just had a twisted sense of humor. But something about it didn't feel funny. Caleb's dog, Jasper, noticed it first. Jasper was the friendliest golden retriever you could imagine. Dumb as rocks, but sweet. He loved everyone. But after we moved in, he refused to go near the backyard. Wouldn't step a single paw past the porch. He'd just sit at the sliding glass door, staring at the woods. Growling. Quiet and low. The fur on his back would bristle. His tail stayed down. We joked that maybe he smelled raccoons. Or deer. But then the dream started. It was Caleb first. He told me over breakfast one morning. Said he'd dreamt about the forest, about trees too thick and black to see through. He said he kept hearing footsteps just beyond his sight. Not animals. Something, pacing, watching, waiting. I told him it was stress. That we'd been through too much the past few years. That moving comes with weird adjustment periods. Then I started having the same dreams. I saw the same woods. Felt the same wrongness in the dark. Heard something calling my name. But not in a voice. In a memory. And then things got worse. It was 4 nights ago. I woke up at exactly 3:17 a.m. Not from a noise. Not from a nightmare. I just snapped awake. Like someone touched my shoulder. The house was dead silent. Even Jasper wasn't breathing loud. I got out of bed and went to the back window. And that's when I saw it. Standing behind the gate. On the far side. A figure. Tall. Too tall. Its skin pale, almost luminous in the moonlight. Not fully human-shaped. Its limbs too long, shoulders wrong. It didn't move. I turned on the porch light. It didn't flinch. It just raised one of its arms. Thin and jointless. And pointed. Right at me. I blinked. And it was gone. I stood there for a long time. Long enough for the chill in my bones to settle. In the morning, I went outside. And that's when I saw the footprints. In the dew, crossing the backyard from the gate, straight to the house. Bare footprints. Human-looking. But wrong. The toes were too long. The arches didn't curve right. They almost looked bent. Like something was pretending to walk like us. But didn't remember how. That night, Caleb said I'd been talking in my sleep. Not mumbling. Whispering. He said I kept repeating something, over and over again. Let me back in. I remember now. Let me back in. I told him I didn't remember dreaming at all. But he swore he saw me get up. Around 2 a.m. Said I walked to the back door. Unlocked it. And just stood there. Looking out at the fence. He said I whispered something. And something whispered back. The next day, I tried to shake it off. Tried to make coffee, walk the yard, scroll the news like everything was fine. But my fingers wouldn't stop trembling. Caleb noticed. He didn't say much, just kept eyeing the backyard. Do you think it's open? He finally asked. The gate. I laughed, but it didn't sound real. It's welded shut, remember? He didn't smile. Yeah, but welds can break. That night, we double-checked every door, every window. Even Jasper refused to leave the living room, curled up tight with his head pressed to the floor. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard tapping. Just 3 taps. Sharp. Deliberate. It was coming from the back door. I froze in bed. Caleb was snoring quietly, oblivious. Jasper let out a low whimper. Another 3 taps. Slower this time. I sat up, heart hammering, and crept toward the hallway. Our bedroom window faced the side of the house, so I couldn't see the yard from there. I had to go to the kitchen. The tapping stopped before I got there. But when I reached the sliding glass door, I saw something pressed to the glass. A handprint. But not mine. Not Caleb's. Too wide. Too long. Fingers like twigs. No visible palm. Just those long, clawless shapes trailing condensation. And outside, in the yard, something moved between the trees. I couldn't see it clearly. Just motion. A slight swaying. Like something standing very still and then turning. In the distance, the rusted iron fence groaned. A deep, metallic sound like something dragging its nails across the weld. I shut the curtains. Locked the door again. Didn't sleep. The next morning, Caleb was pale. "You remember what you said last night?" he asked over cereal. "No. I barely slept." He stared at me. "You said it again. Same thing. Let me back in. Only this time you added something else." "What?" He looked me in the eyes. Voice flat. "You said, I never should have left." That hit something in me. A sick, deep pull in my stomach. I didn't respond. Didn't know how. That afternoon, I went out to the yard. Against my better judgment. I needed to see the gate again. Maybe I needed to prove it was still sealed. The closer I got, the colder the air became. Like it didn't belong to the rest of the world. I pushed aside the ivy. The word stay was still there. Faint. Scratched and rusting. But it was there. I let out a shaky breath. Then I noticed the grass around the gate. It wasn't growing like the rest of the yard. It was flat. Pressed down. Like something had walked back and forth in a tight circle. For hours. Days, maybe. I didn't say anything to Caleb. He was already tense, and I didn't want to feed his fear. But that night, he said something that chilled me more than anything else. We were brushing our teeth, getting ready for bed. He leaned on the sink and said quietly, "You ever feel like we've lived here before?" I stopped. Like déjà vu? He shook his head. "Not just that. I keep seeing flashes. Little things. I'll walk into the living room and feel like someone's missing. Like there used to be 3 of us. Like someone should be sitting in that chair." He pointed to the recliner by the fireplace. Then he laughed nervously. "I sound insane, right?" I didn't answer. Because earlier that day, while he was out, I sat in that chair. And I could have sworn it was warm. As if someone had just gotten up. That night was the worst one yet. I don't even remember falling asleep. But I woke up again. Same time. 3:17 a.m. This time, I wasn't in bed. I was standing in the backyard. Barefoot. Shirtless. Facing the gate. The metal was cold in my hand. The vines had parted. And the weld was cracked. Hairline, but definitely broken. I stared at it. Something deep inside me felt relieved. Like I'd been waiting for this. Like I'd come back to something that once belonged to me. Behind the gate, I heard breathing. Slow. Heavy. Like lungs too large for a human chest. And then, from the other side, a whisper. But not in English. I didn't recognize the words. But I understood them. Like I was remembering a prayer I used to say in another life. "You came back." I turned. Caleb was standing at the back door. Face pale, eyes wide. "Ben," he said, voice shaking. "Come back inside." I blinked. The gate groaned behind me. I turned again. Nothing there. No figure. No movement. Just the cold. And the feeling that something wasn't gone. Just hiding. Waiting. Watching. I didn't go to work the next day. Didn't shower. Didn't eat. I just sat at the kitchen table, staring out the back window at the trees. The crack in the weld haunted me. I hadn't told Caleb. He already looked like he was on the edge. But I knew what I'd felt the night before. That pressure in the air. That quiet welcome from the dark. Like the woods had opened its arms for me. And something inside me had almost stepped forward. That afternoon, I picked up Jasper's leash, thinking maybe a walk would help. But the moment I clipped it on, the dog stiffened. I tried to pull him toward the yard. He whimpered. Growled. And then, for the first time ever, he snapped at me. He didn't bite, but his teeth showed. Just once. A warning. He was terrified. Of me. I dropped the leash. Stepped back. And that's when it hit me. A memory. Except it wasn't mine. I saw the trees. But not from behind the fence. From inside them. I was running. Breath tight. Cold dirt under bare feet. Branches clawing at my skin. And something chasing me. Something white. Something tall. Not hunting me. Dragging me back. I stumbled. Fell. Turned over. And saw my own face staring down at me. Eyes wide. Mouth stitched shut. Then it was gone. I was back in the kitchen. Sweating. Gasping. Caleb was at the sink, watching. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah, just dizzy." But I wasn't okay. That night, the whispering returned. Only this time, it came from inside the house, not outside. It started around 3 a.m. A voice under the floorboards. A second voice from inside the walls. Not words. Not at first. Just sounds. Breathing. Scratching. Then I heard it clearly. "Let us in." Caleb barged into my room, eyes wild. "You hear that?" he whispered. I nodded. "Where's Jasper?" He shook his head. "He's hiding under the bed. Won't come out." We stood in the hallway, frozen, listening. The voices moved. From the basement, up the stairs. Behind the doors. We remember. We wait. And then, silence. Like the house had inhaled and refused to exhale. I checked every room. Every lock. Every window. Nothing had been touched. Except the fireplace. Inside the ashes, someone, or something, had drawn a symbol. A circle, split into 3. Each segment filled with crude markings. It looked like an eye. Caleb stared at it. "What is that?" "I don't know," I lied. But I did. Somehow I did. I'd drawn it before. Years ago. Only not in this life. The next day, we tried to act normal. Went to the store. Took a drive. Pretended the house didn't whisper at night. But when we came home, something was different. The back door was open. Just open. No signs of a break-in. No forced entry. Jasper was standing at the top of the stairs, hair bristling, growling. We checked every room. Again, nothing taken. Nothing moved. Except the gate. I ran to the yard. Caleb followed. The vines were gone. Burned away. The weld. Completely shattered. The gate hung open. Bent inward, like it had been pulled. Not pushed. On the inside of the metal, something new was scratched beneath the faded word "stay." "Welcome home." My heart stopped. "Did you do that?" Caleb asked. I shook my head. We didn't speak after that. We just went inside, closed the blinds, and sat in silence. That night, I dreamed again. But this time, it wasn't the trees. It was a room. A stone room underground. Lit by fire. Symbols carved into the walls. And people. They weren't strangers. They were wearing my face. They stood in a circle, chanting. Their mouths moved with purpose. Their eyes were closed. One by one, they began to slice symbols into their skin. Calm. Precise. Like a ritual. And one of them turned to me. Smiled. We were never meant to leave. I woke up screaming. Caleb ran in, shouting my name. I was on the floor. Claw marks on my arms. My own nails. There was blood on the sheets. On my shirt. But I didn't feel pain. Only urgency. Like I needed to go somewhere. Like I'd left something undone. Caleb held me by the shoulders, his voice shaking. "Ben, tell me what's going on." "I think I've been there before," I said. "Before the house. Before this life." He didn't answer. We sat in silence. And then I said it. The thing I hadn't admitted until now. I think I didn't escape. I think I was let go. Caleb stared. "By what?" I looked at the gate through the window. The answer pressed against my teeth. But I couldn't say it. Because saying it would make it real. I didn't sleep after that. Neither did Caleb. We just sat in the living room, wrapped in silence, the fireplace unlit, the curtains drawn tight against the glass. The gate was still open. I knew that even without looking. At some point, the air changed. You ever feel it? That shift in pressure, like before a storm hits? Everything feels heavier. Like the world is waiting to exhale. That was the house. That was the forest. That was me. Jasper wouldn't come downstairs. He just paced on the second floor, paused silent on the wood, growling low in his throat. Every once in a while, I'd catch him staring at me through the railings. Not blinking. Like he didn't recognize me anymore. Or worse, like he did. By late afternoon, Caleb packed a bag. "I'm not staying here tonight," he said. "Ben, I mean it. I don't care if you think this is some metaphysical nightmare or psychological break or whatever. I'm not sleeping another minute in this place." I didn't stop him. I think some part of me understood. Some part of me knew that whatever was coming. It didn't want him. It wanted me. "I'll come with you," I said. But the lie tasted wrong. I wasn't leaving. I couldn't. That night, I didn't wait for 3:17. I went out just after midnight. The forest was quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel natural. No crickets. No wind. Just silence. And cold. Like the air itself had forgotten how to breathe. I stepped barefoot into the grass. The gate stood open, mouth agape like some rusted beast. The vines were gone. The metal shone wet with dew. It should have felt terrifying. But instead, It felt inevitable. I walked through. For the first time, I stepped past the gate. And I remembered everything. It wasn't this life. It wasn't even the last. I saw flashes. Fire. Stone. A circle of people wearing masks made of bark and bone. They stood in a clearing, beneath a full red moon. One by one, they turned toward me. Their hands raised. Their mouths moved. But I wasn't part of the circle. I was inside it. Bound. Kneeling. Marked. I had belonged to something. To someone. A presence that lived beneath the forest floor. Old. Pale. It had no name. Only a sound. A sound that split the sky when spoken. A word humans forgot how to pronounce. It had chosen me. Marked me. And then, I'd escaped. Somehow. But even now, even across lifetimes, it remembered me. The trees pressed close as I walked deeper. The stars above were wrong. Too many. Too bright. Like I'd stepped into a place just outside of reality. The air smelled like iron and wet leaves. And somewhere ahead, something moved. Not toward me, but around me. Like I was being reabsorbed. Like I was being welcomed home. I don't remember making it back to the house. But I woke up in my bed. Sheets damp. Feet dirty. Shirt soaked through with sweat. Jasper was gone. Caleb's room empty. But the front door was locked. Deadbolt. Like no one had ever left. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. Then I noticed something new. On the inside of my bedroom window. A single word, written in the condensation. Stay. That night, I tried to leave. Keys in hand. Bag packed. But when I opened the front door, it wasn't the street I saw. It was trees. Thick. Endless. Familiar. I slammed the door. Opened the back. Same thing. The house was surrounded now. The woods had come closer. Not just behind the fence. They'd wrapped around us. Around me. At 3:17, I heard it again. The groan of metal. The dragging of limbs through soil. The whispering, not from outside, but from inside the walls. You were made for us. You were the first. You will be the last. I stumbled to the fireplace, heart racing, and saw the symbol again. The eye. But now it was glowing. A soft, reddish light. Like it had been activated. And standing next to it was a figure. Tall. Pale. Too thin. Its head brushed the ceiling. Its limbs bent wrong. Its face. Empty. Just smooth skin. But it looked at me. I felt it. Deep in my skull. I backed away. The thing raised one long, jointless arm. And pointed. At me. Behind me. Every door in the house began to open. Click. 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 Upstairs. Downstairs. Cabinets. Closets. Each one swinging open slowly. Like the house was unfolding. Like it was inviting something in. Or inviting me back out. I ran to the front door again, grabbed the knob. But it was no longer a door. It was bark. Gnarled, dark, breathing bark. The forest was inside now. And I couldn't tell where the house ended and the woods began. I don't know how long I stood there. Fingers brushing against the bark where the front door used to be. My skin felt wrong. Too loose. Like it didn't belong to me anymore. The house was breathing now. Slow, rhythmic creaks in the walls, like ribs expanding. The floor pulsed beneath my feet. Every corner of the home I once knew was fading. Bookshelves replaced by knotted roots. Couch cushions with moss growing through the seams. Photographs blistered and curling, faces wiped away. Only mine remained. Just me. And the thing in the living room. It hadn't moved. But it didn't need to. It was waiting. Waiting for me to finish remembering. I tried one last time to call Caleb. No signal. I don't know if he ever made it out. I don't know if I'll ever be able to. But in that moment, I knew one thing. I hadn't been chosen by accident. I'd been promised. Years. Centuries. Lifetimes ago. When I first stood in that circle. When I gave myself over. I wasn't running from something. I had belonged to it. The gate wasn't a barrier. It was a seal. A cage. A deal scratched in rust and blood. And when I fled, I broke the pact. I walked toward the figure. It didn't flinch. Didn't breathe. But the walls around it groaned louder, as if recognizing my return. Its long, pale hand opened. Inside the palm, something pulsed. A glowing shard. Bone white. My name echoed inside my skull. Not Ben. Something older. Something that sounded like a crack in the earth. Take it. The voice whispered from nowhere. Finish the circle. I knelt. My hands shook as I reached out. The shard was warm. Familiar. Like holding your own childhood tooth in your palm and remembering the pain and the promise. The moment I touched it, everything changed. My vision split. My skin peeled back in memory. The walls fell away, and I saw myself, thousands of times over, across centuries, across deaths, each time kneeling, each time taking the shard, each time becoming a piece of the thing that waited. We weren't its victims. We were its fingers, its tools, its voices, the whisperers behind the walls, the figures behind the trees, the ones pointing, calling, welcoming others home. And now, it was my turn. I woke up in the yard. The sky was red. The trees pulsed with light like veins. The gate stood closed behind me, welded shut once more. But the words were different now. Where it once said stay, where it once said welcome home, now it said, one remains. It's been 5 days. I haven't left the house. Not because I'm trapped, but because I'm watching. There's a family touring the house next door. They wave when they see me. I wave back. Smile. The realtor's pointing out the backyard. She's laughing, saying something about the old fence line. It's county land, she says. No trails. Just trees. Probably just an old property divider. They don't know, but they will. Eventually. Because the forest never stops calling. It only waits. And now I remember how to answer.